All right, so let's just continue on. This this is something I never knew about. I just learned about it yesterday. About this putting comments in CSS. Actually, this slash slash is not. It works in some cases, but it's not a general purpose commenting syntax. This slash star and with the star slash closing that, that's the block comment. So all it has is a block comment. But this slash slash will work sometimes. And it works in because of it triggers a syntax error and the rule is skipped. So it looks like it was commented out, but it was really a faulty syntax. So they explain it in here. So it's good little article. So that's something to keep in mind. And I actually didn't know that until I read that article. And I've been doing a lot of, what is this? I've been doing a lot of reading on CSS, and I came across this piece of CSS here I thought was interesting. It's like how to make turn an image into behave like a checkbox, or actually make a checkbox display an image in its checked and unchecked states. So that check right there is an image. And in fact, the image is stored as in this base 64 encoding right inside the CSS. So I thought we could start by looking at this. This is a pretty fancy example. I thought it was interesting and could help you understand a little bit more about how to get things done using CSS. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And let's see, I'll put it in. I'll call it, what am I going to call it? Checkbox. And so what it is these two checkboxes. So a checkbox is of type checkbox. See what else is there. Then there's an ID. Let's take a look at that. There's the checkbox right there. So that's the check that's built into the browser. And instead of this check, let's replace it with an image. So we have one image, and the checkbox goes into the check state, and another image is displayed in its place. Let's take a look at that. And that is what this code does here. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So we look at this. Well, let's do it like this. Well, I'm going to do it a little differently. Set root dot somewhere. Let me get an image. Let's get an image. Copy the image address. This should be the image address. There it is. That is one long address. So let's see, that's, I'm still not getting that. Just save image as is good enough. And let's say flower. A JPEG. There's the flower. Oh, we need two though. That's only one. And so it's that, and then do that one. Call it flower 2. There it is. I'm just going to make these the same name. There we go. Just give them the same extension. All right. So here is the CSS here. And here's the style. So it's an input tag with of type checkbox. And then there's this pseudo element before. And let's take a look at that. Let's actually I want to do this. We're going to break this thing down and really understand this thing. So there we go. I'm going to comment out that stuff. And let's go ahead and do an experiment here. So I have a div, ID equals X. And it says hello. There it is. We just have a hello. And this checkbox, I'm going to get rid of this. So it just says hello. But if we do this, we'll select this. That's a selector for an element with an ID equal to X. I'm selecting the unique ID. So I'm selecting the unique element with ID equal to X. That's what that selection rule means in CSS. And then we could do something like, make the color Now I'll put a border around it. Border 1 pixel solid green. All right, let's do that. Here's the border. And let's also do this. Let's use this this before pseudo element. And you want to insert something in the element, in its contents, before all of its existing contents. So it'll be, say, content, I say hello. So I'm saying that on this element, before any of its contents, insert this content. So it should say I say hello. Let's save that. It should say I say hello. There it is. I say hello. And I wonder if after works as well. Must. There it is. So these are called pseudo elements, or pseudo selectors, I think they call them. Okay. So for this checkbox, I'm going to put this checkbox here. Get rid of that div. And it's selecting on it here. See this here. See this is a selector right here. This expression selects 0 or more elements in the web page. And then this styling rule is then applied to all of those selected elements. That's why this expression is referred to as a selector. And here we see an element type input. So select all elements of type input that additionally have a type field set to checkbox. And that's what we have here. We have a type field set to checkbox. And then this is before, but there is no before in here. So it's an empty element. And it shows this business here. It's changing this. Let me put that in there. It's the example is kind of a bit of a trick. It's saying, well, insert an empty string, before its content, and it's, we're not showing a checkbox with any content here. I don't know, what does a checkbox look like with content? Let's see what it looks like. It would look like this, right? I'm content. Let's see what that looks like. So I want to take this out. Just comment that out. So just see what a checkbox content looks like. That's what it looks like. All right. So if we do something like this, we could put in hi in there, right? We could put that in there. So it should say it should say hi, I'm content. Let's see. There it is. Whoops. but the high goes here. Okay. So what does it do when I do this? Same thing. What happens when I do this? Same thing. If I put in a blank string, looks okay. But we have this, we wanted to make this, these other rules here. Also, we want to make it an inline block, so make it an inline block. Oh, before we do that, let me put a border around it. I'm going to put a border around everything. This is really handy, by the way, to put borders around everything in the web page. So star means match against every possible element. For every element, attach this border rule. 1 pixel wide, solid red color. There we go. So the body is an element. That's the border around the body, and this is the border around the checkbox, the input element. And we don't need this. So they're saying that this should be, display inline block. Let me just copy it there. I'll change the background to blue. Like a space there. So the background is blue. The display is inline block. The width is 16. So this will be a checkbox that's 16 by 16. I'm going to make it 64. I'm going to make it bigger. So we insert no content, but we also attach to it this all these other rules. Let's see. I'm going to make it nice and easier to read. There it is. But this border, I don't get this border. It's still around. The width is 64, height is 64. I don't get this. Is this an input? I don't understand this line there. Maybe because I'm not, let's see, I'll just be explicit about these things. Actually, I'll put the body here, and I'll end the head section in here. So I have a head section with the style tag, and we got these styles in there. And then we have a body, and everything that's in there, which is all commented out. Same thing, good. So that's what it is. If I put a div in here, that's what that looks like. I don't get this edge here. I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe this input. So this, maybe because it doesn't have, let me try the width and the height. There we go, it's better. Still, I don't understand what's this line, where that line is coming from. That's the thing about CSS, you know, once you start doing this, it's just messy as ever. Just all right, so you know, this is the, you know, when I highlight this, I can see that high up there, that div, and here's the checkbox here. It's, how's that showing up? Checkbox is here, high, checkbox. Checkbox looks good. Here's the other high here. And then we have, oh, maybe it's the body, something to do with the body. I think that was it. Once again, these odd things, like why is there an overlap right there for this input box? I don't get that. Everything, margin is shut off on this. I'll tell you, the CSS is just confusing as ever. Anyway, I think it's working well enough for us. I don't know why we're getting that little overlap right there. Let me take this out. And I'm going to take out this, see, this is what I was doing. I was putting a comment there. Now, I understand this is a syntax error, so this line is skipped and the next line is processed. But to be correct about it, I guess, formal about the whole thing, you want to put it in this kind of a block, called a block level comment. Yeah, I'm going to take this out. I don't need this. I think I don't need that. It still merges with that. Let me try this. Still, it doesn't put a border around this input element. "12 pixels, solid purple." Is that going to show up? It doesn't show up though, does it? Maybe because of this here. You know what? It must be this. It must be this trick down here. Take that out. So all we have is this. solid purple. There's the checkbox. I don't see a border around it, even though the width and the height are set to 64. I wonder what the input element. These are the types. This is the checkbox. All right. What if I did this? I still don't get that box around there. What the heck? I'm not going to mess with it anymore. I'm going to get rid of that. All right, there's the checkbox. And this would be before. Let's see. And let's put in it wouldn't be after, would it? No, that's not right. There's a how did he do it? Oh, here it is. Let's suppose you check the checkbox. So after you check the checkbox, background is say red. So that's another pseudo element. So this selects all checkboxes that are in the checked state. And here we insert before, and we're going to turn the background red. I think we better put this stuff in there too. So this box is not in the checked state, but when I click it, it'll be checked. So once it goes into the checked state, this CSS rule right here is going to match. And this has higher specificity as this one. It also comes after this one. So this one, once I click that checkbox, this CSS rule matches and this CSS rule matches. Both rules set the background to a different color, different background color. So it's the rule that's either more specific, which you could argue this one has higher specificity, or the rule that comes afterwards if they have equal sort of strength or equal specificity. So this one follows it. In either case, this is going to be, the background will be set to red. Let's see if it works. It works. If I click it again, I turn off the checkbox state, say. And yeah, that's how that works. Now, how do you make this into using an image instead? So here we have these images, flower. Instead of background, we're going to make it, we'll call this the background dash image. And it's a URL, and that's the URL. That's the syntax, I believe. Check it. So now we're toggling the checkbox using that check state. I don't know if it's ever going to be useful to you, but I thought that was interesting. And here's the other thing I wanted to show you here, which I thought was pretty interesting. And it's this syntax here that you can specify an image using this syntax. You can embed the image itself right in the web page. So let's do that. That's going to be up in here, I think. So instead of this flower, we'll put the bytes directly in there for the flower. But they have to be in this thing called base64 encoding. Also, this image is going to be JPEG, so I'm going to need to change that. It may not be the right URL there. It may be this. Maybe that's it. We'll try that first. And also here, this is what the end of it looks like. We don't need the equal sign as part of the base64 encoding. So we're going to have to put the base64 encoding is going to be in here. This is an alternative color. I think if it doesn't display, we can get rid of that. So how do we get that base64 encoding? We have to paste it right in here. I go into insert mode. I'm going to paste it in there. It's that flower 1. So if you look in this folder, you see there's flower 1. If I do cat flower 1, what I'm doing with the cat command, I read the file and I write all of its bytes into the standard output stream. And It's just displaying everything. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pipe that through this program called base64. So the unencoded bytes come into the standard input stream, and the base64 send the encoded bytes in the output stream. So we're just going to save that. We'll save it to, well, we got to put it in the clipboard. We're going to paste it in the document, right? So if I do pb copy, that's the command for grabbing something, grabbing the standard input stream, putting it into the clipboard. Let me prove it to you here. If I do, see, I'm going to echo hello here, right? And so that just sends the hello to the standard output stream. I'm going to pipe that into a pb copy. That send the standard output stream into the input stream of pb copy, which places the data in the clipboard. So now if I paste out of the clipboard, it just says hello. So that's how it works. So there it is right there. Got that. Here's the tricky command. And now I'm in here and I'm ready to do the paste. And it just says hello, so I screwed it up. And what did I do wrong? Oh! I knew I did that wrong and I forgot to correct it. So I went to this sent the output to the file named pbcopy. That's not what we want. We want to run the command pbcopy and pipe the output into that running command. Okay, now I got it in the clipboard. Now I'm going to paste it in there. There it is. It's big, right? Let's see here. Something doesn't look right. Something is not right. I'm going to have to use J here. And there it is. That's good. That looks right here. We'll save that. And now the flower one. Let's get rid of that. So it's not visible anymore. So I load this. It still renders. See? I opened up the control here, so make sure that caching is not on. See the network here? See that setting right there? Disable cache while DevTools is open. I want to make absolutely sure I'm not looking at any cached image or anything like that, cache style sheet. So I just opened this, what do they call this? The DevTools panel. Because I know that when the DevTools panel is open at my cache, a browser will do no caching because that's checked. I don't want to take that off. Sometimes that accidentally gets taken off. You got to make sure that's on there. That's very important. Otherwise, it's very confusing to do debugging and time problem solving. If you're confused about whether you're looking at the results of a cached object or whether you're looking at the results of a freshly edited object, it's something you got to. All web developers. This is one of the first things you have to learn as a student. Is the importance of this, because this is gonna waste your time if you're not aware of what's going on with the caching. You're going to waste an awful lot of time and probably and not solve certain problems. So I'm going to reload to make sure I got everything. And notice this thing is still working, even though that the image is not there. So I'm using an image that's stored right in the style sheet. There it is, right there. See it? There it is. So that's, we could do the same thing with the other image as well. And for flower 2, for instance. Okay, so just hacking around. I do this at home, I've been building a site for my daughter. She's an artist. I'm putting together a site for her, and so I'm really diving in right now into CSS, trying to figure out how to build a site. Now, that's the best way to learn something is if you have a meaningful project to work on. Like I've been telling her I was going to do this for her for a long time, and I never got around to it. And now I'm really doing it. I have a meaningful project to work on, and it really helps a lot to learn this stuff. So if you can get a meaningful project yourself to work on, I think that's would be good for you. But telling you it looks easy up here maybe, but it's not. I could spend hours and hours on the simplest things. I mean, absolutely simplest things. And don't let it get discouraged. Don't let it discourage you. It's just the nature of the business. But think about it. There's a big payoff. A lot of times, because I'm a programmer, a lot of times I spend time trying to automate something. And hours and hours, days and days. I'm trying to get something automated so it's one line, And finally I get it after, 20 hours of work, 30 hours of work. I got my one line macro working. My one line script is working. Well, now for the next, I don't know how many years, I'm just typing in a one line script as doing everything. So rather than repeating some manual procedure over and over again, or, while I'm in my career, while I'm at work, I just wrote a program to do it. And it took longer to get the program written than if I did it manually. But if it's a process that you're going to repeat over and over again, I mean, you spend a lot of extra time that first week getting a program written, but after that, you're like taking extra coffee breaks, because you got less work to do, because you've automated something that you used to do manually. Now you do. Now you don't do it manually anymore. That's the big payoff. Being patient. All right, let's see what else we're going to do here. So that was this interesting CSS. I played with that, and I ultimately didn't use it. I didn't really want to use that. And I'll show you what I did ultimately for that, because it wasn't, it was so much hacking, and I needed to do something else with. So I'm going to show you how to do this with JavaScript. Okay, this is the alternative. And let's do this. I'll call this checkbox 2. And I'll copy, and we'll call this checkbox dot CSS. Is that what I want to do? No. I'm just going to do it like, I'm going to move old to flower 1. I want to go back to images. And let's see how to do it in JavaScript now. And that's too much to look at, so I'll go back to images here. I mean, the externally stored image. So let's go, this is flower 2, flower 1. So just clean this up a little bit. We might even actually delete this. That's going to probably get deleted. So here's the checkbox. We don't even need it as a checkbox, actually. I'm just going to make it like this. I'm going to have a div. And I'll set the the ID to let's see, my check. I'll call it my checkbox. It's my checkbox. I'll call it a check image with that. And then inside this is an image element. No, we don't need an image element actually. This is all we need, just a div. Yeah, I'm just going to call it check. Checker. There it is. My checker div. All right. So here's the checker div. And I'll put borders around everything. There's our border around the body element. And then we have this div, but that has no volume to it. Then we have some JavaScript here. So how are we going to make this thing work? Well, we're going to do like this. There's a document object, and on it there's a get element by ID. It takes an ID, so my checker. That's how we get that element. So an element E. We'll call it the checker div. Once we have that, we can set properties on it. Like I could set the style dot width to 64 pixels. And then I could check the height style. I'll set it to 64 pixels as well. Now, this JavaScript, we can't let this run before, this won't run because when this JavaScript is evaluated and run, that div doesn't exist yet. Like the style, look at, see it's putting a box around the style element here. Right, so it's showing me I'm sorry, I found the JavaScript. And that's in the head, isn't it? How come that's showing up in the JavaScript? Shouldn't be in there. Why is that in there? Let checker equal document. What's going on with that? Anybody see the mistake? What's that?
Should be script for the tag.
Oh, scripts. Thank you very much. Look at how, I'm like getting senile here. That's good for you then, because you got to answer my questions. There we go. Thank you for that. So I'm going to see, it can't find this checker, right? So actually, we'll look in the JavaScript console. Look, see, uncut cannot read style of null. Do you see that? It's line 15. Line 15. It's saying cannot read style of null. So it's saying that this variable checker equals null, right? That's what it means. That's what it says, right? Cannot read property style of null. It doesn't say cannot read property style of checker or of, array, or it didn't give an object. It just said that null. So it's saying here the checker is null. That means when we did get element by ID, it returned null here. You see how to read that? This is the most common error right there. everyone, you need to know how to read this and understand what that error says. It's called a null in Java. It's called null pointer exception. It's take all the languages, probably the top most common error condition you could have. You got to know how to read this and understand exactly what's going on there. Okay? All right, so I'm going to move the script down below the div there. So we first define a div, and then we'll run the script. So maybe it's going to, maybe checker won't show up as null anymore because this div will have, with the checker ID, will have been defined. So that function will return something not null. Let's see. Let's see if that works. And it works. No error message, and look at that. 64, here's a div. That's 64 wide, that's 64 high. And it's got that box around it. See, everything gets a box around it. And here it is. We got the checker, we got a reference to the checker div. And then we started to change some of its style properties, like that. What else are we going to do? Let's see. We can. And then there's here's this property here. Watch this. This is going to be. Well, I'm just going to show you how I solve the problem. Where's the JavaScript? Here's the JavaScript here. So we're going to keep track of whether this image is checked or not. So we just have a variable, set it to false. Checker is not checked. Oh, by the way, this, see this checker here. I'm going to put that in there. Checker is actually, you know, it's defined. It's a checker. It's a div. You see, it's placed in the global namespace. See that? But that's a bad habit. Let's take this script out of the global namespace. And what we're going to do is going to define a function. See, we're going to define a function with these lines in it. There's the function, and then we're going to call this function immediately. So we define the function, and I'm going to put parentheses around it. And now I'm going to invoke the function like that, see? It's called an anonymous function. It doesn't have a name. It's just a function definition, and we use it where we define it, and we invoke it right here. So we're going to invoke it. So we get the same result here, but checked is no longer, or checker, right? Checker is no longer, oh, it's still visible. How is that still visible? That shouldn't be visible. Checker. Well, I don't know. I don't get it. Why is that still visible? So there's a way to memory. All right, I don't know how to explain that. So if I did this, let's do this. If I did this, I'm going to do var x equals, you know, 1. And inside here, I'm going to do var y equals 2. And I open this up. If I print x, I get 1. But if I print y, I get nothing, because y is not defined. Similarly, checker should not be defined, but it is defined. So I don't know why that's getting, maybe because of this let. If I use var here, is that right? That can't be the case. Checker. I don't get it. Why is checker? Question, yeah.
I think it's checker because you're IDing it in the div, so it's pulling it from there, not from the function.
So you think this is getting it from ID, the ID value?
Checker, so it's pulling that, it's not pulling it from the function.
So you think it's it because of the ID?
Yeah.
So watch this. Let's test that. Let's suppose I call this CHR. Okay. We'll leave the ID as checker. That's okay. The variable name is now CHR. Will this, according to your idea, will this solve the problem?
It should.
Okay. Let's see. So I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know. So you're helping me. We're going to see if solve the problem. So let me reload. And then I'm going to go CHR. It's not defined. Checker. You're right. What the heck? I had no idea it did that. What if I did this? And I'll make this say an H1. And ID is GGG. And this is an H1, okay? There's the H1, has an ID of GGG. So when I type in the ID, element ID, it's going to, on the console, it's going to show me that element. You know, I don't know. I wouldn't have done that if I was implementing that console, but I guess it's convenient. But now I know. Thank you for that back there. Good idea. Look at that. All right, so what are we going to do? So, yeah.
Could you move this script maybe to?
A little louder?
Can you move script into like under head or under HTML?
Yeah. Yeah. That's where it is now. It's under head. You could put it in the head.
No, it's under.
Oh, it's down there. I can put it there, but it'll have to. Let me get rid of this thing. I could put it there, but I'll need to delay the. I'll show you. Instead of explaining it, I'll just show it to you. Remember, if we put it up above this checker, right? Then when this line runs, it'll return a null. See. So. So we put it in the head here. And now it'll fail because checker's not defined yet, see? But you'll see that the box won't show up. The box is missing. And it's saying under console, let me clear this. Cannot read property style of null. See, that's the same problem, right? So what we need to do is delay the execution of this function. And one way to do it is we can do it like this. We can do document. What's the onload function? The DOM document, or no, I'll say the DOM onload event. on the body, the onload event. We could use this syntax here. We could take the document body element and we'll add an event listener. And this event listener, it'll listen for the load event. And we will, the listener will be this function. There we go. So we attach the function as a load event listener to the body element. Now it'll run after the body has been constructed, loaded. So now we'll see the box should appear. And it does not appear. Cannot read property add event listener of null. So add event listener document. How do I get the body element? I'll tell you this, Google, I mean, you can get so many things, so that's one way to do it. That's the only way to do it? Maybe document. Does the document have a add event listener? A window load event, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Window, add event listener. Window is what's called the global object, by the way. And all attributes of the window object are considered to be the global namespace. All right, there it is again. So we got it to work. And this should be, how do I clear that? There's got to be a clear button in there somewhere. Create, where's the clear button? They used to have a clear button on this thing. Is it clear? Clear, there we go. Reload. No problem. All right, so now what we could do is we're going to add another event listener. So this the CHR, oh, we're going to change that. This should be checker checked. Checker. And so we set these attributes here. Then we're going to add this click event. We're adding the click event to, we're adding a click event listener to the checker div. So when we click it, we'll get an alert and it'll say hi. Let's see, so click it, it says hi. All right, so we don't need that. Now we just know that just want to check to see if that what we've written so far it functions the way we want it to. So that click event seems to be good. And what we're going to do here is going to take that checker and change the style, and it's going to be the background image equals, and this took me a long time to figure this out. This is flower1.jpg. Let's see if that even works. Yeah, it does work. Look at that. So well, we're going to want some other things in here. We want to have we've got background origin, background size. I want to fix that. So the background size should look something like this. So the background size it's 64 pixels by 64 pixels. Is that what it says here? Yeah. And there's some other settings in there which we might need. This, where is it? This origin, position, background position, center. We might need that. Let's see what this does here. Nothing. That's the background size. And then this is the position. Oh, running out of time, aren't we? This is center. Not showing up. Background position, center, background, repeat, no repeat, image. Let me see, is that right? Flower1.jpg. Background image. You see a mistake?
You have to click for it to actually work because it's a click event.
Huh?
You have to click on the box for it to actually work because it's under the click event.
Well, you got to speak up. I can't hear. I got a bad ear.
You have to click on it because it's under the click event.
The click event?
Yeah, because like it's under the event listener click. So wouldn't you have to click on the box for it to work?
Down in here? What's
Yeah,
it?
it's under the function click.
Which one? Well, which line do I go in?
Well, you have to click for it to work because it's under the event listener of click, right? So like if you clicked on the box, it should work.
I need to click on the box again, you said?
Yeah, so click on that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know how you figured that out. There we go. So, yeah, that's it right there. And so, we're running out of time. Let me just finish up real quick. So, next time. We'll continue next time. That's good enough.